92.7 WMOM, Pentwater, Ludington, Baldwin, and all of West Michigan. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Good morning, West Michigan. We have a great show for you today. I am Ryan Howe, founder of Summit Business Guides. I help businesses like the law firm of Basham & Scott, Larson's Landscaping, Safe Harbor Credit Union find and retain A players, drive profitable processes, and eliminate chaos. Why wait? Start your business transformation today. Follow me on Summit Business Guides. Follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram. Connect with me on LinkedIn and learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. So this show is all about learning about our guests' leadership journey. And joining us today is Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. Did I get it?
That you have it exactly right.
Outstanding. So like I was mentioning earlier, I just flew back in from Maine yesterday evening to come back, and they had no snow.
Oh, really?
I didn't even have to have a jacket on there.
Oh, my gosh.
It was wonderful. Now they're getting snow and stuff here, the next couple of days, but I got in and out without it, so it was great.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And you come back to this. Yeah.
I came back, it had melted when I showed up, and then we got more overnight, so it's a great welcome back. So,
sure.
Again, I'm excited to have you on the program. We had a chance to talk, a little over a month ago now, right? And get to know each other a little bit. It was great. And the work that you do here, which we're going to get into, is so extremely important in this area for everything we need. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about that. Before we get there, where are you from?
I'm from Portland, Michigan, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with that, Ryan, down on 96 between Lansing and Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Born and raised there. And
so Portland, what size town is that?
Oh, about maybe 3,000, 3,500.
Okay.
Pretty small. It's like a bedroom community of Lansing.
All right. How many folks did you have in your graduating class then, I guess would be the...
Not very many.
Yeah,
I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
Graduated with 50 other people, which actually I think was the largest class I ever graduated.
I better say, that's twice of what I graduated out of Custer. You're big time.
I'm big time. Yeah, for sure.
So Catholic. So now, did you enjoy school?
I did to a point. I didn't feel always that... I was always learning as much as I wanted to learn. Okay. And so I was a little bit frustrated. I was a little bit of a cut up in school.
So you sharing words with the teachers and everybody, the guests, or the other students at times? Cracking jokes?
Some jokes. I was respectful, but would get in some trouble every now and then, and was voted class clown, that kind of thing. Okay. And that the Catholic school is not always good, but no, I enjoyed it. It was a nice, small, supportive school, but I realized when I got to college, boy, I have some catching up to do in terms of some of the things that I maybe didn't have. But it's hard in a smaller school to provide all those kinds of classes that you need.
Could you give me a couple examples? Like, what do you mean? Like, what were you behind on or what you didn't have?
Yeah. I felt a little bit inadequate in some of the literature classes I had, some of the science classes and things like that. But I knew how to study from that experience at the small school, and it gave me some confidence in some ways, and so that allowed me to play some catch up in college.
Okay. Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. Again, I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan, and it's interesting you say that because I did not learn how to study in high school.
Okay.
I was able to just, if I hear things, it just retains. But when you get into college, it's a little different. They expect reading ahead, and you need to do the work.
Right.
And it's summary time when you're getting into the actual coursework. So that's great. You were able to get that skill set out of there to be able to then be successful in college. So do you have any fond memories of any of your teachers in high school that were like mentors that kind of helped you along the way specifically?
I'll be honest, I didn't really have teachers who were mentors to me in high school. I liked my teachers, but there was nobody in particular. I did have a boss, though, who fulfilled that function for me at McDonald's. That was one of the few places that kids could work in back in the 80s when I was in school. And, she saw something in me, and she was a tough boss. People felt like she had high expectations, and she did. But I rose to those, I guess, in her mind, and she took me under her wing, and we're still friends now, more than 30 years later. I'm godmother to her oldest, but gave me a lot of support as I went through college, and then as I started my professional career. It meant a lot to me, just having somebody see something special in me. 'Cause, you don't know when you're a kid until maybe somebody else recognizes something. And so I had some leadership roles there, but left there, went to go to college immediately upon graduation from high school. But we forged a bond, and so when there were times I thought, I don't know what I want to do, or do I want to continue on with school, or that kind of thing. Having that relationship really kind of helped keep me on course.
Oh, that's great. So, so you're there for a bit, but so were you front counter? Were you back cash, drive through? Did you work? You worked all of it, huh?
Oh, I made a lot of Egg McMuffins in my time,
and a lot of eggs.
Did a lot of drive-through work, but the things I learned there, I still they still help me to this day. Like, stay busy, because you never know when something's going to happen, and you want to be ready for things. Be organized, be considerate and kind. And learn to work on a team well.
Absolutely.
And those things have carried through in my life.
I'm a McDonald's person. We got Ashley over here at McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So we got a whole studio full of McDonald's alum and current employees. But we, what I got from there, my bachelor's degree is in occupational education. So I went to school to basically do training plans for businesses and learn how to educate from boards all the way down. Yeah. And one of my phrases I use is neat and tidy. That's what I got from this McDonald's here. It was one of the things that they say, neat and tidy, because that way you know if it needs to be cleaned or it's been used. There's little tricks that you had. So it's great stuff. So it's great. It's weird, the stuff that you do carry on that you find in those initial jobs.
More than I ever thought.
I know, and they really get hooked. So again, we're continuing our conversation with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. We were talking earlier. I'm going to mess this one up a couple times.
I know.
It's all right, though. It's important. The work's important. So did you know when you were leaving high school what you wanted to go to college, or did you do general studies?
Oh, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had thought about law school eventually. I thought about teaching. I honestly, I didn't have a strong feeling one way or the other. And so I went off to Central Michigan, had a wonderful experience there. Just because, I think for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is I was taught by full professors often. And people, professors knew who we were, and we made those personal connections. But I did quite a bit to take advantage of my college experience in terms of joining groups and going to events on campus and things. And by the end of my sophomore year, I needed to declare a major, and I still didn't really know. And honestly, I fell into the line of work I started out in because I lived with a bunch of students who were going to become teachers. I'm like, I guess I can do that. Okay. And I had thought about that in high school a little bit, being a teacher, but I wasn't really wild about school. Yeah. But I liked learning. And so there was a disconnect there between how school was being done and my love for learning new things. So I declared a history major, and at that time, you could teach with minors also, and I had a double minor in psychology and English, and went on to graduate and do my student teaching, do my student teaching and then graduate. But
the number of people again who are educators that became educators solely because of the experiences that they had in high school they were not educated in the way that fulfilled that desire, that curiosity they had for learning, and they said, I can do better, and they want to go back and do those things. I've met a countless number of individuals like that.
Interesting.
And was that common as far as some of the reasons that you said you stayed with a bunch of folks that were going to be educators?
They were all elementary teachers, and I didn't have an interest in that. I wanted to do secondary, but they were, but they were enthusiastic about it, and I thought, well, maybe I can do that. And when I finished my student teaching experience, I thought, why did I do this? Oh my gosh, that was hard. And
it's work.
it is work. And I was blessed with some good mentors in that experience. And I remember one time talking to one of them. This was in Lansing. I student taught at Lansing Eastern High School. Coming from a small Catholic school in Portland and then going to Lansing Eastern and Lansing. It was a big shift. And there was just a lot of gang activity, a lot of some violence, and a lot of great staff, great kids who were just trying to kind of get through all of that. But I remember talking with one teacher, and I said, "Is it supposed to be this hard? When does it?" I think I said, is it supposed to be this hard? She says it is if you're doing it right. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And that stuck with me. But when I finished that experience, I was kind of fortunate. Well, let me back up. When I finished that experience, I thought, well, I'm not sure I want to continue with this. And there were some people who did not continue because we had a cohort of student teachers who would meet weekly. And some said, this is not for me. I'm getting out. But most of us stayed with it. And I was blessed to get a teaching position immediately for one semester because they needed to have a one-semester person come in, teach full-time so they could relieve 5 teachers to do some work. And I got that position just a couple weeks after I finished student teaching. And I student taught in the fall and then did this teaching gig in the spring at Holt High School, which was a phenomenal experience. Because they were a professional learning school with MSU, had MSU folks coming in, and I just learned a ton from that.
There's few things better than just being immersed with a bunch of professionals in and while they're honing their craft and being around there, you cannot help but just be a sponge and absorb those things. It's that old saying, you're the average of the 5 closest people around you.
Right.
And if you surround yourself like in that example, you can't help but be like, you're like, oh, okay, this is what professional looks like. I want to go back to that phrase that you said, because I'm totally stealing that about whether or not this is supposed to be difficult. Because it is if you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right.
And that goes back to one of those, there's a book that I recommend for a lot of folks out there. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. It's by Ryan Holiday. And it's about you in business and in life, the hard part, whatever that is, that's where you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that needs your attention. So once you get through it, on the other side of it, it'll be easier, but also it's where you get your grit, you get your strength, you get your confidence to be able to do those things.
Right.
So I imagine after going through that difficulty you had, whatever you had after that, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? This isn't so bad. I can get through this stuff.
It does help. Like, okay, I made it through that. And what can I pick up along the way? Because I just, especially when I was learning how to teach, everything felt like a failure. I'm like, oh my God, you just want to be so good. And everything feels so bad.
Yeah.
And, what I was able to see, again, by having great people around me is how much you can learn from failure, probably way more than you can actually learn from your successes.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing. So...
and that just goes back to scientific method as a whole. You want to get a bunch of failures.
Yeah.
You're trying to find that assumption wasn't correct, but as long as you learn something from it, that's the important piece.
Right.
So, again, those just joining us, this is Leading West Michigan. I'm Ryan Howe with Summit Business Guides, and we're talking with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. So you said you were a history major.
Yes.
Was there a type of history you preferred, or was it just general studies history?
It was U.S. history primarily.
Okay, and the job that you got in for the semester, did you rotate through classes, or how did that work?
Yeah, it turned out to be a much tougher experience than the administration had intended. And at some point in time in that semester, they came back to me and apologized because I picked, it was like, okay, trial by fire. I picked up classes from 4 different U.S. history teachers and an American lit teacher. But they thought it was going to be a simple teaching assignment because it was the same U.S. history class that each of those 4 was teaching, like U.S. History 1 or something, okay? But they all taught it differently. Yeah. Some taught it thematically, some taught it chronologically, and so they were all at different points. So I all of a sudden had a 5 prep job. And what was more typical in those days, like with student teaching, is you would have 2 preparations. U.S. history and American lit, and then you had 2 lessons to prepare, and I had 5 lessons to prepare every night, and not knowing what I was doing, and so I lost a ton of weight. I was living in my parents' basement, and they're like, "You got to move out because you're driving us nuts." It was just. I wasn't sleeping, and I got through it, and it got me the job here in Ludington because I got a recommendation for this position up here when I was looking, and so I'm glad I did it, and I learned it set the trajectory for my career, but it really was a trial by fire.
Yeah, there's as we move on to your up here and kind of how that progressive work here, there's basically a leadership tenet that exists, and it's when you're young, you should go through something extremely challenging that pushes you, because when you get that out of the way at an early age, everything else is just a little bit easier for you. You just say, "Oh, I got to go do this." Okay, well, you know what? We can figure it out. So, how did that go as far as the job? For what job did you take up here in Ludington?
There was a position that was advertised here at Ludington High School, and it was for it was kind of a part-time English, part-time social studies, but it's collectively a full-time position. And I remember I received a call from Greg Mowen, who was the principal at that time, new principal here at Ludington. And he asked me if I could teach reading, and I said no. And he asked me if I could teach this, and I said no. And the third question was no. And he said, "Well, you want to come up for an interview?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll come up." Okay. It was the strangest thing, but I learned later that Tom Davis at Holt High School had written him a note that just said, "Hire this person." And so I came up here, and I think it was the last of 7 to interview, and I got the job. I had another position offered to me in Bear Lake, went up there and interviewed, and then I had to choose between the two, and I selected Ludington.
Yeah, no, that's for those of you who have the ability to send those notes to people, that they've moved on or they ask for a reference.
Yeah.
Concise is always better. If you're able to say this, just hire them, say that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
I saw the note in my personnel file years later. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
But I do think having that difficult experience and just surviving it, meant something to them. And that helped me with getting this position. So.
Okay. And so, we got about 3.5 minutes to our first break here, bud. So you landed here. You've gotten a little bit of teaching under your belt. And what was your first impressions of Ludington when you showed up?
Look at that lake.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Portland is a wonderful place, and they've capitalized on their place with some grants and beautiful walking trails and all this kind of stuff. It's a city of two rivers, but at that time, they hadn't done that yet, and it was a nice little town, but it was just in the middle of cornfields and just flat and that kind of thing. And then I spent my time in Mount Pleasant. I love Mount Pleasant, but also just kind of the same. So here, I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to be living here on the shores of Lake Michigan, and just how beautiful. So I felt very
you bring people here,
lucky.
and people come to visit and take them to the beach. They just get out and stare.
Yeah.
They're like, that's a lake? I was like, you can go test the water. It's fresh. It's a lake like there. So, no, so when you got here, though, so Ludington, how about welcoming? Were the folks? Were your reception?
A lot of my experiences really were school people, and they were welcoming, yes. And there was about to be a big shift. We had a lot of people who were on the verge of retirement, and they would look out for some of us newbies, but then they left, and new people were hired, and so there were quite a number of new people the year I was hired, and subsequent years for a few, and so it was really a lot of us were going through a lot of the same things, and so we supported one another.
That's great though, especially when you got a new cohort basically.
Yes.
Come in there and compare notes, but then you have folks you can reach out to for some mentorship if you need it.
Exactly.
And so how long were you on you said 2 part-times, right? Is the way it worked out? How long did that stay?
It was a full-time position, but yeah.
I mean,
right.
like half-time for this class, half for this one. How did...
English for the first couple of years, and then I switched to full-time social studies, which had been what they said would happen, and I wanted a full-time social studies position.
Yeah, those are when you get to have those fun questions and everything, where it's social studies. So, which I'm interested to hear about how that was, again, that transition that you made too, because... Again, that going from my youngest daughter, she teaches first grade.
Okay.
And she got a grant to be able to teach full time last year while doing full time college too. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, I know it was. God bless her for going through it, because it was. I watched her, and it hurt my heart watching how much she was doing, but she pushed through everything to get there. However, what she learned during that time at the one school, now she's transitioned to the elementary that she's working at currently. The staff, the administration, the parents, have all been so welcoming.
Good.
And there's a group of new folks there as well, too. And she's kind of got people she can reach out to for help. So those are the good things. That's what I would love to hear in this. I wouldn't expect any less out of here out of Ludington. So,
Right.
Again, you're leading to West Michigan on 102, listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So we're going to take our first break, and when we get back, I want to hear more about your time here at Ludington High School.
Okay, sounds good.
Looking for events and happenings in the area? Look no further than Mom's Fridge Magnets. Presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Get ready for winter with Lakeshore Automotive and Tire in Ludington. Our experts will ensure your vehicle's coolant system is in top shape, protecting your engine and radiator from freezing and costly damage. With our professional service, you'll stay on the road, worry-free, all winter long. Schedule your appointment today and drive with confidence.
My team at Watson Motors wants to thank you for naming us the best new car dealership. We always appreciate your feedback because your business matters to us. Stop by any of our locations in Ludington, Manistee, and Benzie for not only the best vehicles, but the best customer service. Watson Motors, our name means a great deal.
Saturday, December 9th at 6:30 p.m., Scottville is having their 4th annual Christmas parade. The parade will start at the MCC Middle School, then zigzag through town, spreading Christmas delight and delivering Santa on South Main Street to light the fabulous tree. Santa will then meet all the kiddos. Simple festivities are to follow like crafts, cocoa, cookies, popcorn, toasty fires, and music. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM. It's Leading
Mom's
West
Fridge
Michigan.
Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan.
All right, welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe from Summit Business Guides, and we are continuing our conversation with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, make sure I get this right, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. Again, before the break, we were, again, chatting. You just got started over here with Ludington. So if, again, you were welcomed in, and you had, again, the staff has been great. So what was it like with the students, and what did that look like as your evolution at the school here as far as education?
Sure. Yeah. No, I came here in 1991, and I was in the classroom teaching until 2013. It was the hardest job of my life, and it was the best job of my life.
How so?
There's nothing quite like teaching.
That's true.
And to have those relationships with students and to give them experiences and the curriculum that I was teaching, I don't know. I know I'll never feel again the way I felt when I was teaching, which is just seeing those light bulbs turn on. It's such a cliche, but seeing kids who rise to the level that they didn't think they could and meet those expectations. And so I try to create a classroom where there were high expectations. We were always going to muck around in the discipline that day and get you to understand the nature of the discipline in a way that was interesting. So, but at the same time, a student would feel safe to take risks and things like that. So I tried to bring my A game every day, and I failed much of the time. But I always felt like it was my duty to bring the best I had. And I remember driving to school sometimes and thinking, I'm sorry ahead of time, kids, this is the best I could come up with for this topic. And but oftentimes it did work, and kids were inspired, and I knew that I was making a difference, and I also knew I was kind of touching the future. Who knows what that student's going to go and do? But it just felt like my life had meaning.
Yeah. No, I get you there. Again, we're continuing our conversation with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman here on Leading West Michigan. And, I taught for a while. It's and now it's a big portion of what I do with my work here. And like you're saying, when you're striking a chord with folks and you just see it, like everything goes quiet. They're like, everything just clicked into place. Like you're saying, you're just like, okay, that's been settled. We're good. But you mentioned something that was important, and it's where one of the things when I was in the military, where we talk with my subordinates, was about you can't give 100% all the time. It just is not humanly possible.
Right.
But if you come in and let me know you've only got 70% that you can give, I expect you to give 100% of that 70%.
Right.
And I will understand on that 30%, we'll figure it out. And that was always the ask that I had for folks. And it sounds like you would come in and say, I can only give, mentally I got 70% today, but you're getting the whole thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And that's, for most folks, that's getting through life. In a good way. And if you can keep that type of mentality, though, you're leading a pretty good life where you have that understanding. So
Right.
how long did you teach for?
I taught until 2013,
Okay.
and so I did about 22 years in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still see students that former students, and love running into them and kind of seeing what they're doing with their lives, and it makes me feel good to know that it might have meant something to them. Sometimes kids will come up and say, I remember this thing we did in class, or thank you for this, and I don't need to be thanked, but it's just, okay, it worked.
I mean, yeah, sorry, but just as one of those people that's on the other side there and running into the teachers, since I've been back, I made sure to let those people important in my life just give them a little thanks, because while you're talking with them and you're doing your thing with your students, you're helping them become who they're going to be. When you realize that it was something that was way back then, it was simply somebody who cared or held you to that standard when that's what you needed at that time to understand that's what it meant to be X, Y, and Z. You're compelled to say thank you when you come across that. So take that as definitely a sign you're doing all the good stuff there. So you're done with the classroom. What was that? What was after the classroom then?
I went to the middle school, was principal there for 5 years at O.J. DeYoung. And that was a great experience, very different from being a teacher.
What made you make that jump to administration?
I had done a lot of leadership roles while I was teaching. I was the president of the union. I was the chief negotiator for several years. I was the head of the school improvement team, and I had learned a lot about leadership and about education, and I felt like I had something else to contribute, and I also felt like I needed to grow a little bit and see if I could take some of those skills I had honed, plus my time in the classroom out, for a new experience, out for a spin, and so I went and I got the degree I needed in ed leadership for that, and then there was an opening, and I thought, okay, maybe this is the time, and I got the position, so.
And how did you like that transition? Did you miss the kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. It was, I missed those closer relationships with students, and I missed the academics and, that kind of thing. It was a great position in the sense of being able to work with teachers and help create programming that was beneficial for students. There was a lot of ability to do that. And kind of see that through. So when I arrived, there were no after-school programs beyond sports, and I'm a huge sports supporter, but I felt like other things were needed, so we started a co-curricular programming. We started a drama club, Business Professionals of America. We eventually started a robotics team and things like that to help kids learn other skills and also make friendships beyond their social cliques.
Yeah.
And the advisors did a phenomenal job. And so to be able to do things like that and just say, I think we should do this, and then be able to do it was really one of the greatest things about being principal, to make those changes.
That and having a staff that basically understood and supported you as well, saying we need to get these things going, because one thing we've learned, and it's definitely there, is for the couple of years where the students weren't able to have the non-sport extracurricular things that were going on, that there was a void in that need piece that they have for that communication, a different challenge. And now that everybody's getting back, you can see them we had 43 kids sign up for our drama club.
Yes.
Custer.
Yeah, that's like, amazing.
Yeah, that's like 200% of the population or something.
I love that.
Yeah, but to that point there, so that's great that was something you're able to get rolling. And I imagine there was probably a lot of interest when you started putting those out there.
There was, and that interest grew over time. And so I'm really happy about that. And, when I came into the principalship, it was a big, there was a lot going on at the state level with a new teacher evaluation process and all this kind of stuff. And it was a lot of pressure on teachers. And our teachers really rose to the occasion. And, that was not easy to make that shift. And in teaching middle school, it's tough, because you have kids who are very social, but yet don't have a lot of impulse control. And the staff at OJ really, they wanted to be there. That was the level they wanted to teach at.
Yeah.
And so a lot of energy is needed to teach at that level. And, they did a very good job. And so it's just there's been a lot of change in education in the last 30 years.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And a lot more oversight, a lot more accountability. And those were tough years.
Oh, for sure.
For teachers to make the transition.
Making that transition, especially in that area there. So my, I've talked at length on this show about the change, not, obviously principals, super administration has a huge, what they're being tasked with now from a federal and a state level is pretty, it's important. I'm not going to say it's crazy because that's where a lot of folks say it, but it's important things that were missed over time. But when we talk about guidance counselors, that entire role has been completely redefined at this point. And I'll actually go a little bit longer here. So, but no, I'll tell you that what is asked upon, especially at that level too, because that is everything. Their mindsets start shifting. They're all of a sudden thinking oh man, there's this whole adult world out there too,
right? And
to be able to be there and help support that. So I understand why you got to have high energy. So that was 5 years total you did there.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was after that, I guess? What?
Yeah, I made the decision to retire because there was an opening at United Way, and it was just bizarre that there was, because earlier in my career, I was already kind of thinking, what would be the next thing I would want to do? And I wanted to be involved in a nonprofit, specifically United Way. I had donated to United Way, through their workplace campaign for many years. And I was on the board when I learned about this position. So I applied for the position, got it, and of course stepped off the board at that time. And I ran a program for United Way called the Lakeshore Employer Resource Network, which still exists. Yep. And that allowed me to work with employees all over the county. There were, at that time, I think about a dozen employers who joined, and anybody can join. They pay annual dues, but then my role was to go on site at all of those companies every week to support their employees with just anything.
Sure.
Could be a workplace issue, or they needed some training. I would do some of that with them. I did some management training too. But also, there could be financial problems that those employees are facing. So I did some loans through West Shore Bank. West Shore Bank has a relationship with United Way and these micro loans to get them through emergency times. And I did some, we wouldn't call it counseling because I'm not a licensed counselor or therapist, but some coaching.
Yep.
If people were kind of struggling with some issues.
Yeah, give them somebody to talk with. So and with that and that work you did, was it just time to move on from basically school? Is it just you're I'm ready for a new challenge, or?
Well, I didn't, the staff at United Way is a very small staff, and I did not know when there would be another position opening.
Gotcha.
And I felt I had done a lot of what I wanted to do at the middle school. And I thought, well, I guess this is the time. The opportunity presents itself. And so I didn't want to regret letting that opportunity pass me by.
No, I understand. And that's, for a lot of individuals, they find themselves it's just leaving because it's not time yet, but they just need to go. But to be able to say, hey, there's another opportunity, something different for me out there where I can have an impact. And that one in particular, there's a lot of the part of that I've heard the most about actually has been the travel help or sort of vehicle help and other stuff.
Yeah.
Could you a couple words on that?
Sure. Yeah. Right before I left, I applied for a grant through the Community Foundation, and we were able to get that grant. And the proposal was to set up an auto loan, like a transportation loan program for employees who are part of the Learn, and it was just a revolving loan fund where if a person needs car repair or maybe needs to buy auto insurance or they want to buy another pre-owned vehicle, to replace their current, they can borrow. I think it was up to $1,000. It may be a little bit more now. Zero interest loan directly through United Way and pay it back through payroll deduction.
That's fantastic.
Yes, and that's that's what the other loan through West Shore Bank could cover as well. But we found that transportation was such a huge need that, and there are limits, with how many repeated bank loans you can get. But if you had another opportunity for just transportation, that would help people to get to work and maybe be more successful.
Yeah, transportation is such a big, it's still an issue here. And it's, thank you so much for, again, that's why I talk about the leadership, and that's why this program exists, so we can hear about the folks that have, hey, there's a need here. How can we
need a reliable towing service that's
meet
there?
That need? What can we do to fulfill it? So it's great. So we getting ready to take our next break. And we come back, let's continue on your journey as we get towards your current seat that you're at. So you are listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and take that break, and we return. Let's hear about what was next in your journey.
Need a reliable towing service that's there for you 24/7? Look no further than Oceana Auto, your premier towing solution. Whether it's a small roadside hiccup or a major towing challenge, our team is here to cater to all your needs. We believe in a team approach to every job we undertake, ensuring that you experience the best in towing and road service. What sets us apart? It's our commitment to building long-term customer relationships based on high-quality performance. Call us anytime, day or night, for reliable and caring towing service. Call 231-873-3500 for Oceana Auto. That's 231-873-3500. Oceana Auto. Get hooked on us.
Lakeshore Automotive and Tire is your winter driving experts in Ludington. We understand the critical role tires play in winter conditions. Winter tires are designed to tackle the unpredictable mix of heavy snowfall and icy roads, providing you the traction you need. Maintaining the right tire pressure is equally important to enhance safety, reduce costs, and improve fuel efficiency. Learn how to check your air pressure and keep your tires in optimal condition. Plus, get informed about the essential differences between winter tires and all-season tires. Trust Lakeshore Automotive and Tire for all your winter driving needs, ensuring you stay safe and prepared for the season's challenges. Call 231-425-3526. That's 231-425-3526 to schedule your appointment today.
Looking for a sweet way to save money on your Christmas shopping this year? Hi, it's Barry from House of Flavors. Today through New Year's Day, get a free $5 off certificate with every $25 gift certificate purchased. Buy 25, get $5 free, and good to use all year. Now through New Year's Day, buy a $25 House of Flavors gift certificate, get a $5 off certificate free. Sweet, House of Flavors restaurant in downtown Ludington. Working hard to bring a little sweetness to your life every day.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe from Summit Business Guides, and we're continuing our conversation with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman, the Economic Development Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. And before we went on break there, we were hearing about the great work that you did with the Lakeshore Employee Resource Network, and basically going on to what the next step in your journey was. What was that, or how'd that happen?
Yeah, I received a phone call one day asking me to consider this position of Economic Development Director, and I thought, I don't know anything about that. So, what? And so I did some thinking and was assured that, they'll train you, they'll prepare you, that kind of thing. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Okay. It just, I, again, thought this is an opportunity to learn things. And I, the more I thought about it, the more I thought I do have experiences that would lend themselves to this. And maybe I do have something to contribute here. When I was at United Way, I, in addition to, being the Learn coach, I also taught classes to people living in and near poverty, and I learned quite a bit about kind of what people's experiences are in the county, or at least, I mean, I know I've just scratched the surface, but I was starting to open up my mind to, just what people were going through it, and the economic disparity. And then, of course, my time in education that relates to preparing people to enter the economy. I thought maybe I do have some experiences that will inform, my work in that area. So I did it.
Yeah, because definitely want to hear more about that. But the piece also of being an expert communicator is so important in those positions.
Yeah,
because your job is talking and listening, and then translating.
Yes,
because there's a lot of, especially in that role, as I imagine, there's quite a few disparate positions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And understanding that there are, I think, is one thing that I don't have a lock on what's happening, that I need to listen to people to understand their reality and then piece things together to try to become more accurate in my thinking, basically. That was true in teaching, true as principal, true at United Way, and now true in this position.
So when you first came on board and you said they were providing training, what was that like, basically jumping into something that you're like, okay, I'm here, now I got to go and get some time learning it. And
drinking out of a fire hose, like from the beginning.
Okay.
It was a lot. I was hired in April of 2022, and really the rest of that year was just so much learning. And, I actually work for The Right Place in Grand Rapids, which is in downtown Grand Rapids. It's an economic development nonprofit whose concern is promoting the West Michigan economy, and they have a relationship with other counties they refer to as partner counties. That includes Mason, and the Right Place has a contract with the Chamber Alliance, and for somebody, in this case me, to do economic development, and they have partnerships with 6 other counties to do the same, like Lake is part of it, Oceana, Mecosta, So they provided a lot of the training, and then Kathy McLean, who she was serving as an interim person doing economic development, helped me to kind of understand some of the things that were happening around here. And but then the training at the Right Place combined really helped me to get an idea of what are the kinds of things that this position is concerned about and we need to work on.
No, yeah, and again, coming in those new positions like that and having those type of conversations around and being welcoming, especially with something that there are some very strong opinions on what should be the next steps or where we should be focusing time and energy on that, and being able to know to navigate those. So, I guess my question is, within the chamber, how does that fit within the chamber? That relationship that you have within the chamber itself, as far as, is it an advisory board with like advisory basically up to Brandy and the team, or how does that work?
Yeah, the chamber has chosen to take the lead on economic development. So my position would fall within the chamber and under the chamber board. So I report to the chamber board. I sit as an ex officio member and provide monthly updates to the board. But the Chamber Alliance, has relationships with other entities. The College Access Network, the Community Foundation, the CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau. I mean, and Brandy and the team have done an excellent job of forging those partnerships, because really we get more done together.
Oh, for sure.
And we want to make sure that sector leaders know what's happening and can collaborate effectively. And so this new emphasis at the chamber to do that with these relationships is really effective. Economic development now is a new piece of that. And so I'm just really happy to be part of that team. It's a really high quality team.
Yeah, no, and I've had a few of them on here for the conversations and everything. And again, it's great that we've got that cohesive group here that are focused on what they can do for the area here. And then you have resources again to be able to reach back out to Grand Rapids if there's advice or if there's other information that we may need up here that's not readily available. Is that true?
That's exactly true. And that's one of the benefits. We do a lot of learning together as economic development people. And we also support each other, share resources, and we're not going to get very far if we're constantly in this cutthroat competition with surrounding counties who want to steal their people or steal companies from them, or that doesn't help us. We want to support education, support business development, help each other to succeed, and that's what makes companies want to move in here, and people to do better. It's really about enriching all of West Michigan together. And the Right Place does a great job of kind of leading that work. But we have our own goals. So the Right Place does not tell me these are the goals you have to work on in Mesa. Not at all. We set those goals. I have an economic development committee I work with that has people from various sectors, and we did a strategic plan together. The Right Place assisted us, but it was our goals.
Okay, so just so that helps me better understand this. So you're out here, so they've got, it's decentralized control. They're back there as far as as your resource.
Yes.
To be able to come and say, here's what we need in order to meet what they're trying to do at the Right Place. As far as the support function, they're trusting you here to say these are the things X, Y, and Z that we need to be successful.
Yeah, each county economy is a little bit different.
Oh, for sure.
So,
yeah. Okay, that's great. That's great. So, got about a little over 2 minutes till our next break here. So, what are some of the current thing? Housing, obviously, is something everybody talks about here. Is that something that is on your radar?
Oh my gosh, every second of every day.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to just give you a little framework that we use and then talk about housing. But at the Right Place, and this works for my thinking too, we think about economic development as three buckets. It's people, it's place, and it's prosperity. And, I'm going to talk about them here in reverse order. But prosperity is really all things business. How can we support our existing companies so that they have what they need, so they want to stay in Mason County and flourish? How do we help those companies if they want to do an expansion? Same kind of thing. And how do we help companies that may have an interest in moving to Mason County if it would be a good fit for us and make that maybe transition easier or more likely? Place, people can live anywhere. How do we make this a place, and I think it is a very attractive place to live, but how do we make this a place where people can get their needs met and they can enjoy living their lives? And, the lake is one thing, and it's beautiful, but that doesn't, arts and culture, things, all sorts of things to do. Do we have a place to live? The housing thing is huge in that space. Shared spaces like, Waterfront Park or the sculpture trail that, goes across the county.
Yep.
Those kinds of things really matter to people. And then finally, people is really talent, education. How do we grow talent? How do we attract talent? Because you need people who will help the community to thrive.
And that's absolutely. We were talking about that before we really got started, about the number of people that are here, that are in the community that, they're not from Ludington. They're not from Mason County. They've moved up here. They're here and they want to make this place better for everyone, but they're not necessarily what you call local. They live here and they may have been here for decades, but they came from somewhere else, discovered what was great about here, and now they want to try to help make it better. So, and again, that's pretty common that I see across the way there. So we're getting ready to head in towards our final break here, and we come back. I'd love to hear about some of the initiatives that you're currently working on, if there's support that you need from the community and things of that nature. So again, you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. Again, it's time for that final break. We get back. Can't wait to hear what's going on.
That's good.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Watson Motors welcomes the holiday season with warm wishes and unbeatable deals. Discover festive savings on a wide range of vehicles, ensuring a merry and bright holiday journey. Expert winter-ready car services are available to keep your vehicle in top shape. Consider gifting the joy of a new car experience to a loved one. Visit Watson Motors for a cup of cheer, expert assistance, and exclusive holiday offers. Happy holidays from Watson Motors.
With cooler weather creeping in, now is the ideal time to make sure your home is protected and to ensure you You will have a roof over your head if the unthinkable occurs. At McGee Insurance Group, we can help you find the right policy to protect your home and possessions and understand what's covered if disaster strikes. We're open weekdays from 8 to 5 and are located next to Pizza Hut on US 10 in Ludington. Our number is 231-845-5000. Contact us today to see what options are available for you.
Friends of Ludington State Park is coordinating monthly guided hikes the third Sunday of each month beginning at 2 p.m. from the warming shelter. You do not have to be an experienced hiker to participate, since hiking pace and length will vary depending on the interest of the participant. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so we're on to the final segment here with Kristi Lucas-Zimmerman. She is make sure I get it correct here, got the Economic Director for the Chamber Alliance of Mason County. It's been great hearing, again, your journey as far as zipping around there in those other areas, that especially the work you're doing now, because there's a huge education component that you have to have in this job, not just for you to have an understanding, but also taking those, like we were talking, those points from other people, those other interests, and to be able to then return them and recommunicate them and educate others about why this is important. Because within the county, there's many different levels of, as far as development that you've got to take into consideration. So with that, what are some of the challenges you're currently working on basically in the county?
Housing.
Yes.
And that is just a big part of what I think about and do, try to work through on a regular basis. We completed a housing needs assessment this year because that helps to attract developers. That we have done a deep dive into what our housing situation is and what our housing needs are, to be able to say to developers, if you build the housing, people will buy it, people will rent it, and we have the numbers to back that up. It also helps us, to apply for grants. But we have to do something with that. So we have formed a Mason County Housing Alliance with some local leaders, and I wrote for a grant through the new Office of Rural Development. Now it's called Rural Prosperity, for $50,000 to hire a consultant to work with our group to get us housing ready. And that really, it's complex, but it really is, how do we create the conditions here so that it's a no-brainer for developers to want to come in here and build housing? There are so many challenges to that. How do we knock those down? And what is the role of all of us? Because there is a role for economic development folks like myself. There's a role for private business. There's a role for municipalities. How do we work together? Because everybody wants housing.
Sure.
We have a lot of people who commute into this county who need housing and would live here if they could find it. And really, it's an economic development issue because people are only going to commute 50 miles one way for so long.
Sure, absolutely.
And so our businesses are kind of stymied by the fact that housing is an issue. So we're going to need businesses support, and again, really all people in the community to get behind this.
Yeah, and also that balance the balance of maintaining what is great about this place without having the housing coming and being an issue. That that's the great balance. Even when I was younger here, growing up, it was the same conversations were going on then. We're like,
sure,
we'd love to be able to grow more, but we don't want to have this place have too many people, I guess is the lack of a better phrase on that. But it's so I guess is that, and I'm sure that's something that you're having to keep in mind as well with the different folks that you're talking with about the balance there.
Right.
Also.
Yeah, people talk to me about that. We don't want this to become like an urban sprawl situation, and that's, nobody wants that. But at the same time, we have to take care of the people who live here. And we have to balance that with tourists. We need tourism dollars.
Yep, absolutely.
We want this to be a great place for people to visit, but my thinking and other people's is that if you make it a great place to live, it will also be a great place to visit. Tourists will come. But we do have an obligation to take care of the people who live here. Yep. And we are in the process of developing a vision for economic development that will allow us to be a little more discerning about how we develop. And but we have to constantly keep an eye on those basic needs, food access, housing, that type of thing. And, broadband is becoming more of a necessity rather than just a luxury,
Yeah, I mean, that's a utility at this point.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yes, and we view it as utility also. And But really, we pay attention to all of those things, but we're laser focused on housing right now. And I want to tell the community that too, because if I were out there, I would think they're not doing anything on this, and this is ridiculous. And I understand why people feel that way, but we're playing the long game. Like, how do we create those conditions so that the developers can develop here? Because if it doesn't make financial sense for them to do it, they're not going to do it.
Exactly. And you've had it, and you, again, this county and many others, they've had and I know they've had the roundup little rodeo basically of giving the tour to developers around, and they always see the same thing. They're like, we got it, but here's regulatory issues, here's these issues.
Many barriers.
And, for them, it's, again, that's stuff, again, we mentioned on the municipality. There's things that are going to have to take place. As one of my favorite phrases is, someone has to go first. And usually isn't capital. It's usually got to be on the municipality side. Something has to blink first and say, okay, here's what we can do to help inspire you to come on in here. So is there anything else that the community can help out with? I mean, that they may be able to either through surveys or questions or calling, or even just to provide input?
Well, if anybody wants to have a conversation about housing with me, I want to have that conversation, because that helps me understand what is happening, but also other ways we can tackle that. I have been approached by people who are doing things to try to help with the housing situation, and I'm like, that's great. That helps me to know kind of how to organize our efforts moving forward.
Okay.
The other big initiative we're working on, several initiatives, but the other one I want to highlight here is a talent pipeline pilot program we're doing here with our plan is to do it with career and technical education students. One thing I learned when I got into this role is there just isn't a regular avenue of communication between educational institutions and employers. I mean, there are relationships, people may know somebody to call, but there isn't a regular method for finding out, are there young people interested in doing this kind of work for my company, that kind of thing. And I think young people don't always know what are the companies here, or their parents don't know. I mean, because we're all kind of doing our own thing. So we've got this online platform called Emerge Skilled that we are getting employers signed up on. And if you're an employer listening to this, it's free. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it. And you can do job shadowing through it with CTE students. You can do internships. You can source seasonal, part-time, and full-time work. And on the student end of things, they get to see what's available. And it does kind of matches, basically, like this company would be a good fit for you. It does, And so it kind of guides people to work that they might want to do.
Yeah, and that's we're getting here towards the end here again. Want to mention one thing. I have been through the training for that. That emerges. It's very interesting. And what I like about what you're doing here, on both cases with the housing and also with the talent pipeline, you're introducing intentionality into what is being done rather than just, let's try to figure it out. No, we're intentionally going down these roads so we can then get measurements on it to see, is this actually working or not? And that's the great thing with that talent pipeline. When I saw what you're doing there, I was like, oh, this is great. This is, we just got to get more people involved in it.
Yeah,
so
it has to be a community initiative.
Absolutely. So again, that's about all the time we have for today. Again, I want to thank Kristi. Thank you for coming out today. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Ryan. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love learning more about what you've been doing. So. Good. I am always looking for new leaders to have on this program and give them an opportunity to share their stories. I'm interested in leaders in every aspect of the community, so education, municipal, business, nonprofit. So if you know a leader making an impact, go to summitbusinessguides.com/leadingwestmichigan and submit their name for consideration. If you're a business owner and you never seem to get traction, you're always missing sales, you and your employees never seem to be on the same page, I can help. Start your business transformation right now. Visit summitbusinessguides.com. Follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Connect with me personally on LinkedIn and send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. So join us next week when Mitch Foster, the Ludington City Manager, joins us to share his journey to becoming a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join us next week for more of Leading West Michigan right here on 102.7 WMOM.